This is David Allen. I'm talking with Uriel Adderly. He's the director of the New Providence Community Center, and they house the evacuees from the Southern Islands during Hurricane Irma. And I was with Uriel a couple of times and saw the challenges he faced as a young Bahamian, which may be a representative of the challenges we're going to face more and more in the future as hurricanes get stronger, and we need to help our own people, but also help people from other islands and other countries, and recognizing that this is all part of our church and Christian commitment. Uriel, what did you learn by all this?
Well, one of the things that I've learned, you know, being a part of the New Providence Community Church congregation for a long time, we've constantly heard the message, and you're part of that, and you're part of the persons who propagate this message, was the idea of taking church outside of the walls. The Sunday morning service is a tremendous experience, and it's important that people come together as a corporate worship. But the whole idea is, what do we do when it's all over? When the corporate service is all over, the message is preached, what do we do as individuals? And as a church body and as a corporate entity, we decide, how can we effectively go outside of the walls of our church and affect the lives of people? How do we bring God in tangible ways into the lives of individuals? So when the Hurricane Center was mobilized, that was one of the things on the back of my mind. My main focus was, how can we as an institution affect lives? So here we had an enormous opportunity, because these persons were living among us. We had an opportunity to live among them. There were no distance. There was not them and then us. We were one.
Family.
We were confined in one small building, and now how we respond, how we provide service, how we interact with them is the face of God. And that was the opportunity we had. And I guess as time go on, maybe in this situation, we were in the media spotlight, and most of the media houses came and we conducted interviews. But for years and years and years, we've done this in private.
Yes.
And it was, how can we effectively change our community? Change the concept of how do we do church?
Well, you know, I think the forming pastor of the church, Clint Kemp,
yes,
that was his vision from day one, you
That's
know.
it.
And so actually getting there and seeing the people in the center, I felt the vision of the church was really, you know, one love,
Yes.
Bob Marley,
Yes.
one love, one family, people helping people, and that was what it was all about. And just to see you operate.
Yes.
And what struck me, in spite of the danger, in spite of the possible chaos and conflict, there was a powerful calm.
Yes, yes.
And a powerful peace.
Yes.
And at one point I stood there in the midst of you running around and your staff, and I just said, this is beautiful.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
Yes.
And I was so glad and really proud of you.
Yes.
That's why I wanted Bahamian people to see you, because you stood tall, and because I have a feeling, because now I heard this morning that we have, you know, Dominican people
Right,
coming here, and
right.
you know, family, we must bring them to the Bahamas.
Yes.
And welcome to our country.
Yes.
They're in need. If Irma had hit us, Nassau could have been destroyed, and only through the grace of Almighty God. When God does a good thing among you, we have to give thanks and make sure we share it. And so please, let's welcome the Dominican people from Dominica here and make sure they have a nice time and enjoy our country. Uriel, obviously this happened pretty suddenly. Anything you've learned that you may want to do in the future to make it more smoothly?
No, I think for us, and I mean, in any situation, you can learn. I mean, once you go through an experience, there's a learning curve. And because one of the challenges I have also in formulating the Hurricane Center, like bringing it up to the level of readiness, is the cost factor. Because a lot of times you have impending disasters, and then you go and you make a huge investment in because
Yeah, I think you're also an airplane shelter in case if an
yes.
airplane crash.
Right.
New Providence Community Center is a
Right,
shelter they'll come
right,
to as well.
right.
So you have to keep your shelter ready.
We have to have the state of readiness for any type of disaster, as if it relate to an airline crash, God forgive, God forbid, or in the case of an impending disaster. And the readiness, what people need to understand too, is when we mobilizing and bringing the shelter up to the readiness, there are cost factors. There are monies that the church spent, which is a part of the church ministry. And I have to balance that aspect of it, because I don't want to buy supplies, fill it up in the building, and then discover the hurricane is no longer coming or it's moving away. And then I end up with a lot. But I mean, in a case like that, we can give it away. But, you know, it's a balancing act in terms of the cost side of it, the economic side of it. So, and that's one of the things that stressed me too. Should I spend 5,000? Should I spend 8,000? Should I spend 10,000? You know, that kind of, those are some of the issues. But,
what would you do differently?
what would I do differently? I can't say, because when we worked through the whole entire process, we made adjustment. Like I said, the dynamics changed on us in this case, because they were the evacuees from the Southern Islands, which means we had them a longer period. In most cases, our center is really designed for, the shelter is really equipped for 2 to 3 day type event. Anything beyond that, it creates some challenges. But if I had to do differently, I don't think I would have changed anything. I think I would work with the same program. One of the things I might want to look at, and I think I will, is we need a professional chef. See, the support team that came in to help me with the cooking was real and good. But if I could get me a professional chef, or maybe a few persons listening that I can call in the event of a disaster. See, because what the chef do would take a lot of burden off of me. Because what I had to do a lot of the planning in terms of the menu, what are we cooking, and everything had to be ordered around that.
Because you had 3 meals.
I had 3 meals a day.
I mean, solid meals.
3
breakfast,
solid meals a day,
and you got through, and everybody got fed.
Everybody got fed. The persons, the special need persons, the persons that were suffering from diabetes. Then we had some elderly persons, incapacitated individuals. All of them we had to cater to, and we had to map out a strategy to cater to all of them, to make sure that no one was missing. Wow. And where the challenge I had was, I had to plan out everything. I had to plan out the food ordering, I had to plan out the menu, I had to decide what we cooking, what we're not cooking, the quantity we're cooking. See, if I had a professional chef, a lot of that burden could have moved away from me, and I could have rested that with him or her, and then they make the decision. And all I do is concentrate on ordering the supply.
So you, Mr. Adderly, it looks like the Bahamas needs to make this a profession now.
Yes.
Shelter management.
Yes.
Because I tell you, I didn't have a clue. I was flying by the seat of my pants too. But it seems to me what you're saying is there's a whole new field opening in the Bahamas called shelter management.
Yes.
There's an art and science to what to do, how to feed, how to get money, how to get the public supporting you.
Yes.
That's a really important.
And see, the advantage I had was coming into this job, I came from a hotel background.
Okay.
So I had an extensive understanding of a lot of equipment that you use in a hotel, like cooking utensils, the supplies and stuff that you need to run an operation. So when I sat down and I began to formulate the menu and determine, okay, this amount of persons that we have to feed, and then we cost out like the amount of plates, the amount of spoons, you know, napkins, paper towel, toilet paper, and all of that stuff. I had to do an analysis, so I can't get to the point where we just run out. Like you say, like in the middle of the storm, you discover you have no longer have plates, we don't have enough cups, we don't have enough spoon. So all of that you have to do an analysis and a breakdown on, and you have to make sure that you have the supplies. Now, one of the other challenges we had too, like I was saying earlier, some of the persons refused to stay at the shelter. But what we discovered that as we went on, as the shelter, the process went on during the week, a lot of those persons filtered back to the shelter. Because I guess the word was getting out that we were having a good time. So many of them began filtering their way back to the shelter.
I see.
So when we were cooking food, I kept having a headache over running out. I kept going in the kitchen and I would say facetiously to them, I'd say, if I was the general manager of this hotel, I would fire all of your cook because we keep running out of food. And then one day, one of my staff, she was sweeping the hallway and she said to me, she said, Mr. Adderly, she said, come here. So I went over to her, and she said to me, where are these folks sleeping tonight? I say, sleeping? They're sleeping in there because they're the evacuees. She said, no, they're not a part of the numbers. These are new ones. Because apparently they moved to their relative. And as they get the message out that things were good at the
New Providence Community Center,
they moved back to the facility. So we find ourselves, we had like a revolving number.
That's a well-designed building, and you have your water, you have your air conditioning, you have your films, and so I guess the people really had a nice time.
And we had all the different rooms, like for showing movies to the children, other entertainment. Then we had facilities like for the social services, for the defense force, for the nursing station. So we had all the different rooms designated for specified functions.
You know, you must feel good about what you did.
Yes.
I was very proud of you.
Thank you.
When I told my wife, I said, Uriel's got it. I said, he's got it. When I first said, I said, boy, okay. So I just call you and hope for good news. And then as I called day by day and then came out, I felt I could see the bicyclists were moving along. Yes. And then, of course, at a certain point, she just burst, and the public got involved.
Yes.
We're going to take a break and be right back.